Today on episode 152 of Typical Chicago Fans, we have Sinkers and Floaters, the TCF Sports Minute, interview with our guy Bobby Wilson from TNT College Football Podcast, our NFL Week 10 pick show, and of course a TCF top 3 this week of Little Debbie Snacks. Let's roll. Hello and welcome to episode 152 of Typical Chicago Fans, brought to you by our incredible sponsor, Connect Roasters Coffee. Make sure you find us on Twitter at typical_Chicago. Head to Facebook and Instagram and give those pages a like. If you like our content in video form, that can be found on YouTube. Just go to the search bar, type in Typical Chicago Fans, and hit that red subscribe button. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there, whether that's Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Leave a review if you can. Leave 5 stars if you can. You know the drill by now. You can find me on Twitter at BoomyTCF. And, of course, I am joined tonight by Zach Lilia at ZLiliaTCF. We may have Maddie swinging in here pretty soon, but even if he doesn't jump on the episode, you can find him on Twitter at schools_01. Make sure you give our guy Maddie a follow. Zach, I think we are officially approaching winter, my friend.
I know, I hate it. One day it was 70 and the next day it's 32 degrees. I don't understand it. I don't get how that works. That should not be allowed. But yes, we are officially, I think, done with fall and approaching winter very fast.
Yeah. Yep, I know. We had to go outside the other day at school because it was I told him, I said, it's probably the last nice day we're going to have until March. So we had to.
I was trying to get off of work and just for the day and go out and golf because it's literally the last time that someone will be able to golf this year around here. So that's even more sad is that the golf season is also over pretty much.
Yeah, but thank God for no free ads, but bogeys. Does he still got the simulator up or is that gone?
I have some bad news for you, Boomy.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
no.
there anymore.
Oh, Lord. Well, maybe our good friend Nick Gons will finally pull the trigger. And
come on, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. It's only a couple grand. I mean, what are we talking about here? I'll pay $20 every time we use it. I mean, he'll have the thing paid off in no time. Fair enough. But yes, I definitely think that winter is finally upon us. By the time you guys are hearing this, it's going to be low 30s. So I got time to bust out the winter jackets. It stinks, but hey, that's part of living where we do, my friend.
Yeah, that's I said, if you don't want to live in Illinois, might as well move because you get every type of weather here.
That is for sure. Let's go ahead and jump into things. As always, we have sinkers and floaters to lead us off. And my sinker this week is TSA. Everybody has their complaints about TSA, but no one really talks about some of the wild stuff that TSA finds, right? It sucks going through it. It sucks the process, getting on the plane and everything. But some security officers at an airport in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that work at TSA were also a little thrown off when they recovered, obviously not something that's common, but it does happen. They acquired a handgun through someone's luggage the other day. However, it was packed in some hidden raw chicken in a traveler's luggage. It says they were going through it and they found basically just like bags of raw chicken and a gun hidden in it. So I'm sure when you're going through and you run the little x-ray thing, the last thing that you're going to expect to see is, like a bag of raw chicken. And then you take that out. You're already right. That's weird enough. You start going through it and there's a handgun in it. So that must have thrown everybody for a loop there. So yeah, I don't really know what the angle was there. If they thought maybe that's the old trick, right? If you have something illegal, to hide it in, food, so it throws off a dog, a drug sniffing dog or anything like that. Those think it's, but I don't know what they're doing here. I mean, a gun in chicken, that blew my mind.
Can smell raw chicken,
right?
And they would be like, that would be even weirder.
Yeah. I don't know where the raw chicken angle came in, but obviously this person was
Let's
arrested.
take these drugs and put them in something that you would have no reason to have there.
Right. I think someone got some
more obvious that you have drugs in there.
I think that someone got their wires crossed on the story because it's already raising suspicion. Especially it's not like a regular you're being pulled over and you have cookies in the car or whatever. But I mean, raw chicken in a suitcase at an airport, that's red flag number one. They're going to open that. Why don't you just walk through with a sign that says, "Hey, I have a gun in this book bag."
I think it's more wild to have raw chicken in your bag than it is drugs.
Yeah, that's fair.
My sinker though is time change. I don't understand why we keep doing this every single year. I understand you gotta love the farmers, but what are we doing here? Why are we purposely making it darker earlier at night? What are we doing?
Exactly. I don't even think we can even talk to the farmer, because every farmer I've talked to since this started becoming more of a story, they don't people saying that that farm implements have lights on them now, right? That was one of those things where that made sense when everything was horse drawn or before electricity. But I don't know if you guys know this, but farm implements have lights. They are run basically by GPS, and they have heated and cooled cabs. Sometimes, I'm not saying all of them, but for the most part, every tractor I see out there has some sort of lights on it. We don't have to be doing this.
No, it makes no sense to me.
I'm with you. I thought about this the other day, and I'm like, man, I'm just I'm tired. When I get out of work, it's anywhere from 6 to 7:30. But then I'm like, it's not the time of the day. It's the sense that shoot, there was times this year where we started golfing at 6 o'clock, and that was 3 months ago.
It's one of those things. It's we could easily fix this. You think?
Yeah.
But what do I know?
And I know that even if we were in normal time, it would be dark at 6. That's what it was basically before the weather or the clocks changed.
I'll take that all
fine. Yeah, exactly. But when the sun starts setting at 4:30,
yeah.
I mean,
no, thank you.
It's not the 1800s anymore. We have electricity. Our cars have lights. Our tractors have lights. Figure it out, guys. It's we made all these grand, advancements in technology and society, but yet we still haven't, changed this stupid law from the early 1800s. But what do I know? Let's go ahead. I'll jump into my floater, and my floater is collectibles. Obviously, everybody knows the collectible market, whether that's cards, comic books, just kind of. I'm big into following. I don't really purchase, but game worn stuff. Big collectibles are kind of back. But there is a very cool place that I would love to check out, and obviously I would not be allowed in. But it is just an ordinary brown brick building, and I believe it is in Delaware. And this very average looking building houses some very, very, very expensive collectibles in the industry. It is, like they say, a nondescript block building on a street in Delaware. However, inside it almost looks like Fort Knox. It is a vaulted door, and inside of it is housed things like a very rare Pikachu card, a century-old Honus Wagner card that sold for $7.25 million in a private sale, game-worn and signed Kobe Bryant sneakers, and it says it holds about $200 million worth of collectibles inside these two gated vaults that look like bank vaults, but just an incredible place. And I love that, it's just sitting in some random, building in the middle of Delaware. Just to be able to go in and see this kind of stuff would just be, it's like a museum. It really would be. And it's just kind of funny to me that it's just sitting in some random brown brick building in the middle of Delaware.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I agree. It looks like from the pictures I'm looking at, it has a full-time security guard. The building has no sign outside. The company has asked that any hint of its location not be divulged. That it's also, like I said, guarded vault equipped with semisonic motion detectors that will sound an alarm should anyone try to jackhammer through the walls. Very state of the art technology. And like I said, and each of the 7,500 pound vault doors that are more than a foot thick are rows of shelves that have all this collectible items attached to it. So maybe we need to become friends with this nice gentleman or group of people in Delaware, just see if we can get a sneak peek in there.
That is a lot of work to keep that thing secure.
I mean, there's even barbed wire, prison style gates outside of the building and the security guard just to get into the parking lot.
That's insane.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought.
My floater, Boomy, will also be doing this. Well, today, going to weddings. You get to see people you haven't seen in a while. You get to have a nice night, drink some beer or whatever you drink at a wedding. And like I said, especially for the wedding we're about to go to, it's a high school buddy or before high school. And so you'll get to see a lot of people you haven't seen in a long time, or you never just, even when you see people, you're not in a room like that, able to have a conversation. So I wouldn't say maybe going to weddings per se, but weddings of people that you have been friends with for a long, friends weddings.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. And I think we all as adults know that weddings are just they're a good time and you have to enjoy them. And you know what?
As adults is, unfortunately, you're not going to always see your friends as much as you used to.
100%. That's facts. And I've also used to be the guy that, oh yeah, everybody's got to be out on the dance floor, but I have found a peace in, just enjoying the conversation at times. It doesn't have to all just be, a million beers
and on the dance floor all night. That's tiring.
Yeah, exactly. I came here to socialize, have fun, have a couple pops, and enjoy a good conversation, not be sore the next day.
Yeah, very true. But
I'll cut a rug a couple songs, but I'm not spending the whole night out there like I did back in my early 20s.
But like I said, going to friends' weddings, and like I said, getting to talk to people you haven't seen in a while, or you just don't get to see a lot. So me and Boomy will have a little content maybe from the wedding, because it is our boy Game Boy.
Yeah, shout out. You probably remember him from the early TCF days, TCF Game Boy. So shout out to him. Congrats, Game Boy and Whitney. So that was Sinkers and Floaters. Let's move on as always. And of course, we got Maddie in the building for the TCF Sports Minute. We got to start off with the Bears, boys. 3-6, drop one to the Dolphins last week. However, Justin Fields, is he that guy? I'll turn it over to the Bears fans.
What? Wait, what?
He now holds.
What kind of question is that?
He now holds the record for the most rushing yards by a quarterback in NFL history.
Is he? I think he is him. It's H1M at this point. It's not the guy.
I'm excited. I'm very excited about all this.
It's the best quarterback in the NFC North by far.
Oh yeah,
I mean, by far.
Well, that's not saying a whole hell of a lot right now.
You know what? No, Maddie, Kirk Cousins played well.
Cousins has played well. You're right.
Played well. We give
Goff's been decent. Goff's actually been decent too, in stretches. I mean,
this guy has one good week, and now he's him.
We have a fucking quarterback, baby. We got a quarterback, baby. It doesn't matter anymore. Boomy, you know it as much as anybody. If you got the quarterback, it doesn't matter.
No, not
if we got a quarterback, the Green Bay fans are worried about it now too, and I love it. You don't know what to do with yourself, just like we don't.
But I'm very excited about Justin Fields, Claypool out there. Even with Claypool, I only think he had 2 catches, but it's just the way that he freed up Darnell Mooney to be getting more passes. He's more open. I'm excited to see what this Bears team can do. They play the Lions 2 more times. They play the Vikings. They play the Packers. Who do they play next week? It might be the Vikings.
They play Detroit on Sunday.
Yeah, I know they play them this Sunday. But I think their next 3 or 4 games are winnable.
Yeah.
I think they end that 4-game stretch with the Packers.
Which obviously is winnable. I mean, everybody's winnable against.
Good thing we don't have Pigoy on this show because he would.
I know he's just rolling the division. Pigoy would steamroll us right now.
They're going to clinch this division probably 12 or week 13.
Yeah, I don't know. They're actually a decent team too. I don't want to say it,
but to see the progress that Justin Fields has had and the way that they're running plays around him, for him, what he can do. It's just exciting to see the whole process kind of coming together. It was kind of a perfect scenario there with the Dolphins. You see what you want from Justin Fields, and you get a loss, which is going to help draft picks kind of. You wish they would have called that pass interference, which was unreal. What I hate about the whole thing is they go back and they go, oh, yeah, that should have been pass interference. I don't need you to tell me that. I don't need you to go back and be like, oh, well, that should have been pass interference. Well, it's not going to change bets. It's not going to change the game. Just forget about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just pouring a little salt in your wound. Yeah. That's what that feels like.
Come on.
Okay, so I know you said that, these winnable games coming up, and you're very much so correct there. Lions, I think it was Lions, Falcons, Jets. Where you're sitting at now, 3-6, do you almost want to just play the rest of the season like the Bears played the game against the Dolphins, where you're in games, but you're still losing? Because, I listening to Redline Radio, do you still want that top 10 pick that's going to come out of that?
I don't really mind losing per se, but I don't want to lose to the Lions, the Jets, the Falcons. You don't want to lose to them.
I've got the rest of the season schedule pulled up. Here you go, guys. It's the Lions this Sunday at Atlanta, at the Jets, home against Green Bay. And then you got home against the Eagles, home against the Bills. So that'll be a bloodbath back-to-back weeks. Then at Detroit and home against the Vikings to end the season. So you figure, you win a handful of games there. I'm not one of those guys that feels like you should win games in the NFL because I do think there's the rosters being 53 man and so many positions have such a big impact in the NFL that a first-round pick almost becomes a first-round pick, at least in the first 15, first 20 slots. You should be able to get an impact player anywhere in that first 20 picks almost.
Especially the way this draft is going to be. There's going to be a lot of quarterbacks up there at the top.
It's not even so much that, but between the pass rushers, the offensive linemen, the wide receivers, the corners, and the quarterbacks every year, that's 5 premium positions that teams are going to want to target in the first round.
But with the Bears needing a quarterback after what we saw this weekend.
Absolutely. No, for sure.
That'll help them out a lot.
Definitely. It just keeps pushing players in front of them down if there's teams that need quarterbacks. Totally agree with you there. In terms of just the draft, the way it shakes out for you, that's the way you want it to. But it's just accumulate them. You want to have first rounders. It doesn't fucking really matter where, at some point, especially when you have your quarterback. Because if you don't have the quarterback, that's when you got to really shoot to be in the top 5 to hope to, get one of those franchise guys. So. I think they're in a good spot. They got, another second rounder. They got Claypool, the one that they acquired, or that they have the Roquan second rounder. They use their own to acquire Claypool, but they've actually got some draft capital going into the offseason and a shit ton of free agent money in free agency to spend. Yeah. So, they can remake that roster overnight. It's perfect. It's a really good storm to be in.
Definitely. Now, all right. So obviously you sit at this, after the Dolphins game and the insanity that, Justin Fields went off for. What do you expect out of him this weekend? What would you do on Sunday night? What would have to happen for you to say this was a success? But what if there's a regression?
200 passing, 200 rushing, 4 touchdowns.
That's it. That's
the
it.
way that he looks out there. Now, you don't want to see him.
Yeah. I know what you mean, Zach. When you just say the look, you want him to look like that guy. You want him to look like he's out there in control of the offense, in control of the game flow.
And I've seen that.
Yeah. Like, you just want to keep seeing what we've been seeing. Like, I totally agree with you. Like,
and that's the biggest thing, like with the pass interference or even the fumble in the Vikings game, you just didn't get to see him at least try to make the big plays at the end of the game because he just wasn't allowed to.
Fumbled.
No, for sure. I think that, like you said, there's, and you guys have been saying it for as long as everybody. It's the hope and the, the reality that you might have, the guy that's going to be your quarterback for a very long time. And there's been bumps in the road for sure, but the way he looked last week, and I not trying to poo-poo things, but you'll probably take it this way. The passing, but I don't think the passing game can 100% be blamed on him. Like you guys have said a million times. I mean, you got to look at what he's throwing to until you can
what's
find
in front of him too, as much as anything. And
yeah.
I think his weapons have actually been better than what we expected in terms of, like, Cole Kmet's taken that step that you wanted to see. Darnell Mooney has really elevated himself from people thought he was like everyone said going into the season, yeah, Darnell Mooney's good, but he's the guy you want as your number 3. I'm at this point, I'm good with Darnell Mooney as your 2. And if you have him as a 2, Claypool as like a second 2, and then you got two guys at that level with the way Mooney can go inside and outside, you get another big playmaker on the outside, and I think you're ready to roll, dude, offensively. Like, once you obviously you need some reinforcements up front as well. But the playmaking side is not nearly as far away as they were.
I think that's a really good point when you say about the offensive line, because people, you just look at this and you see, oh yeah, passing wise, he threw for 123 yards, right? You're not going to win, playoff games throwing for 123 yards. But like you said, you have to look at the whole picture and the fact that he's, still got, a subpar offensive line, and they still don't have a 1 at the wide receiver spot.
Right.
That you got to figure, that pick is going to be at minimum a top 15 pick. Right, at absolute minimum, and if you can, and you never know. Like you said, $100 million in free agent money. You go out and you get a guy that can be a 1, and now you're really cooking. And you patch, those different problems up on the offensive line. I do think the defense took a pretty big hit with losing those guys through trade, but that's what happens when you have to trade guys like Roquan and Robert Quinn. But again, at the end of the day,
frankly, that's where you're relying on having a head coach like Eberflus too. Is you have a defensive-minded head coach, and you're banking on that guy to have an impact on that unit as soon as you get the players there that he's got to work with. You know what I mean? And like, so they're tripping it down right now. But damn it, they better be a better defense than they were next year than they are currently the rest of the season. So especially you're relying on Eberflus to help lead that kind of charge, in my opinion.
100%. Anything else on the Bears, gentlemen?
Yeah, I want one more. Just beat the Lions. I agree, Zach. And I got one thing. Like, it's finally nice to see some direction as much as anything. That's like, I'm just very happy about that.
I'm excited for the offense.
There's a plan. And like,
it's not
like, we're a team that can get overs now, Zach. We're not fucking playing with over-unders at 38 and shit. You know what I mean? We're not that team anymore.
It's not a rudderless ship anymore. My team
can be an over team. If my team's an over team, I love it.
For sure.
It feels like
entertaining when you suck.
Yeah, that's true. It does have a feeling from the outside that it's not the rudderless ship that it was, within the last 3 seasons. So, I hope that continues. That's all right. You just keep making comments like that, and when they bury the Bears, don't get pissy at me when I talk the way I talk
what
after
I am
we
nervous about is, like, if you guys are, let's say,
it's Jordan Love's season.
Well, what I'm afraid of is if they're pretty bad this year, this draft class of quarterbacks is pretty nuts.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that yet, Zach. I like that.
Oh yeah, they have one horrible year, and then they get like Bryce.
Yeah, but the problem there is, I think the best prospect in college football from a quarterback aspect is not eligible yet. That's Drake May.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be back for 2 years then.
That's what we got to do. 2 years. I can live with 2 years. You guys have been doing it for your whole lives.
Yeah,
so
let's move on.
Just some very average news. The Bulls 6-7, 7th in the East. Average is the only word I could come up with. This team is. I don't know if it's because Lonzo's still not back. This team does not a lot for me.
Well, Zach LaVine misses every other game. Patrick Williams, I don't know what
Stinks.
happened, but he is bad.
He played 30 minutes the other night, had 7 points and 5 rebounds.
It seems like he's always like backing up, or I don't really get what he's trying to do out there. He doesn't look like he's like trying to attack the basket. I don't know what's going on.
Well, and I can live with the offensive side. We talked or were told basically when this kid was drafted that you're looking at obviously in a prospect way of looking at things. A guy like Kawhi Leonard.
Poor man's Kawhi.
Exactly. And
on the paw.
Dude, this is the farthest thing from it. Yeah, this is bad. I mean, there's times
play in the NBA.
Oh yeah, he's with the Clippers.
Is he hurt?
Sometimes,
like all the last 2 seasons, but I think this year he's played a little. Like he's been, I don't think his minutes are real high right now.
Yeah, but
this whole team, they're average in an East that's going to be really good.
Yeah, and that's basketball purgatory. We've been through this a million times. With the Bulls,
they've been set up there for the last decade plus.
Yeah. Since those early 2010 D Rose led teams.
Well, they didn't even go back to the Ben Gordon years.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Well, unfortunately, I think the Bulls are going to have the same 500 record the whole year.
Yeah, unless something drastically changes here soon, I think that's 100% spot on. And it's great. You see Dragic come out and have a big night, and Andre Drummond, but the fact that we got to rely on Andre Drummond and Goran Dragic.
They do it
right, but that's not their job.
Next night when they need to do it or whatever,
Goran Dragic is 37. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have Zach LaVine, who knee management every week or so. It's is this is not good if this is a problem.
This early in the season. Trouble. The roster's really in trouble because they're aging at the wrong time together, and it's like a weird mix. It's a really weird mix right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Hopefully, something turns around soon. But we got to get these guys healthy. I mean, I think it's pretty simple.
Is Lonzo Ball going to play again?
I am not. I'm done assuming Lonzo Ball's coming back.
He's not going to play this year, right? We're not. He's not.
I would think no.
Okay, if you had to put your money on it, he's not playing this year. That's the way I'm looking at
it. Yeah. Unfortunately,
then what are we doing?
They said he is running in water. That's awesome.
I'm running in circles.
Yeah,
that's what we got. He's been out since about the beginning of last year.
Yeah, I think he played 32 games last season, so a little under half. Yeah. Here we go again.
Tough.
Here we go again. Let's move on. The Blackhawks 5-5-3, 11 points.
They're exciting. They're fun to watch.
Matt, you got anything deeper than they're fun to watch? Because that's exactly took the words out of my mouth. I have watched more Blackhawks games this year already than I did all of last year.
I think they're fun to watch in the terms if you like a team that just doesn't quit and is really scrappy and ratty. They're not a team that's well coached. I agree. I think Richardson's a good fucking coach, dude. He's getting blood out of a tournament. It seems like
they took the LA Kings to overtime.
They should
in
have
LA
that game too, and that was frustrating last night. But the one thing I want to say about the Hawks, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about them, is I don't think the ceiling is not very high. 5-5-3, I think, is currently as we sit. Going into Saturday is their record, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
And they're just not scoring goals. So it's not one of those teams that's going to win games 6-5, 7-4. There's those fucking shootouts where it just becomes just who can fucking pump it in as much as possible kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna win their games 2-1, 2-0, 3-1. It's kind of a grimy team. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Kane as much as anything too. I think if he's gonna get dealt at the deadline or close to the deadline, I think it's one of those situations where the guy like him who has a shit ton of talent still has, I think, a lot to give another team, but only one season until in free agency.
Yeah.
You want to deal him earlier than later, I think, towards the deadline. I think you might be able to get a little bit extra if you deal him 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks before the deadline, as opposed to waiting up until the deadline, because the NHL trade deadline is so far back into the season. Like it leaves like only 5 weeks, I believe, until the
I was gonna say, I thought it was like 6 weeks max.
Usually very, very late in the season. So it's one of those things. Like I think you might see Kane dealt more closer to the trade deadline or the All-Star break as opposed to the trade deadline if he's going to be dealt. If they want to extend him, I'm at the point. The guy brought 3 cups. If he wants to stay here, give him a fucking contract. I don't care. If they're not going to be good, then fine. But
what I would say is,
he's earned it.
If you have enjoyed watching the Blackhawks, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, then I would enjoy the next few months of watching them. At least they're exciting to watch, and you get to see them at least play for a decent team. The last little part of their hopefully not the last part of their career here, but
I'm glad you mentioned Toews because he's been good this year, like much better this year than he had been the last couple of years too. And like, there's some good players coming up, like with Reichel playing in Rockford, who's, he's definitely above that level. Like he needs to be, he's at that point where he needs to not be there, but he needs to be able to kind of get the ability to roam in the NHL level too. And it's like the roster isn't set up perfectly for that yet. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure, like, if they did trade Kane, he would be up, like, 4 minutes later, I'm sure. Your natural kind of, not your replacement, but you're the guy that you hope is going to produce some of that same offense.
For sure.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, I'm sold on Richardson. He's getting this roster that's definitely one of the bottom 5 or 6 rosters in the league, and they're not – they're scrapping for a – it's early in the season, but they're hanging around the middle of the pack, so above what you
can't ask for a lot more. Let's move on to the MLB postseason. Big one here. Wilson Contreras has declined the option that was given to him by the Cubs, as we all kind of saw coming, and he will become a free agent. Do you guys want Wilson Contreras back on the north side?
I would love it, but if he's turned down $19 million, that's tough.
Bye-bye.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for a 30-year-old catcher. Don't get me wrong.
If you can get that money,
contract. I saw a projected contract. I think it was ESPN.com. Had 3 years, $45 million. You get him at $345, fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
I think it's going to be closer to 3 for $45 than anything closer to 20 a year that he thinks he's getting.
Yeah, I guess if he goes out there and tests the waters and see what he
I'm not saying it's going to be to the Cubs, but I think per year he's going to get closer to 15 than 20.
You would think. So that just might mean he just doesn't want to come back.
And frankly, the Cubs have been on the right side of these gambles more often than not the last few years.
The way that the things have shook out the last, whatever it is, 18 months since the teardown.
Wildly. I mean, maybe we're just homers too, but
people don't remember that the Cubs traded Javi Baez 6 months or probably 5 months of Javi Baez maybe for Pete Crow Armstrong.
I know, who's like rapidly shooting up to like one of the top 50 prospects.
He had an amazing summer, and the Mets had Javi Baez for 3 months.
Yeah.
And
now he's an anchor or dead weight in fucking Detroit. So
Yep, absolutely. White Sox hire a new manager.
Real quick, before we leave on the Cubs, shout out to our best friend Ian Happ too on Gold Glove.
Gold Glove.
Yes.
So I didn't realize this. You just get to so now. Every time he gets a new glove, it'll just have that gold patch.
I would assume so.
I think he can get it on there.
Yeah.
If he wants it. Like I'd put it on like my coat sleeves, like my.
I'd
I'd put that shit everywhere if I was him. I didn't like every time I signed GG 22.
I'd carry the trophy.
Yes, I'd hire a person just to carry it around behind me.
Let's not forget, dude. Let's not forget, like, this was a guy who came in as a second baseman coming up.
Yeah.
And wins a Gold Glove playing outfield. So shout out, like I said, our best friend, Ian Happ, recurring guest of the podcast. One of our heroes, I think, collectively, I would say.
And the guy makes great coffee, but we'll get to that in a second. You're absolutely right, Maddie. White Sox hire a new manager. It's one of those where I, as a non-White Sox fan, definitely thought they were going to do something wacky and hire, like AJ Pierzynski or something stupid like that. And they don't. They go outside of the organization. They go to Kansas City. And Pedro Grifol, I believe is his name. I'm probably butchering that.
I think you got it.
Grifol, I believe. I'm not sure. I do think they missed a huge opportunity. And I don't know. For White Sox fans, you might disagree with me. I think there was a huge missed opportunity there in hiring and to not hire. I believe Joe Espada is his name, the coach or the bench coach from Houston. I think that's a huge miss. I think that Grifol files a lot of those boxes, right? Analytics and has the connection with the players, but like he coached for the Kansas City Royals last, right? And last I checked, Kansas City Royals. Yeah, I've heard that too.
He was the bench coach.
Yeah, but like, if I'm not mistaken, the Kansas City Royals stink out loud, right? Like this is a guy not coming from an organization of winning.
Since their World Series. So
yeah, and that was
with the organization
8 years ago.
Do you know?
I don't believe he was, but I will check on that. But I just feel like you really dropped the ball in the sense that you could have had Joe Espada. And now, with that being said, I don't know if he didn't want the job, if they offered it to him, whatever the case may be. He has been with the Royals since 2013. Grifol has.
So he was there when they won it.
Yeah, yep. But I just feel like that there was a missed opportunity here, and Espada. I think any organization would be smart going with it. With that.
I agree with you. I think if I was looking to hire a manager, I think Espada would have been my target personally. Just the track record that he's had with the Astros, they've been outstanding. He's been involved in the makeup of that team for a long time. I do think there's something to be said about going off the radar a little bit though too. And there was the rumblings about Ozzie Guillen, which I'm not an anti-Ozzie Guillen guy. I don't think that would have been a good hire. I think this team needs less drama. They need less theatrics. They need less everybody bitching about La Russa and everybody bitching about the lineup. They just need a guy who's just going to show up, go to work, try to fire these guys up, and see if he can fucking turn Yohan Moncada into something. Because I think that's where they need a little bit of that red ass. That's a little bit also, like you said, analytical minded. Which La Russa had the red ass side, but I don't think he clearly had the analytical side of the
game. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. It'll be interesting to see what are some targets or some needs you think that both the Cubs and the Sox have going into this free agency.
The White Sox pitching.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs, Trey Turner. End of story.
Yeah.
Fucking give him whatever amount of money it takes to come play shortstop and be done with it.
Yeah, I know. I
like that a lot.
I think the White Sox clearly need a right fielder. I mean, they just plug and played, guys out there all year.
I would give Trey Turner fucking 7, 8, 10 years right now without a blink of a fucking eye.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Yep.
Fine. 10 years, $29 million. So $290 million. Here you go. See you later. Come play shortstop for the next.
Well, we could even be nice and round it up to 300. Give us a nice round number. I don't care. I'm with you.
Whatever.
Yeah, obviously Cubs need some pitching, I think, too.
Give him $1 billion.
I would give.
Yeah, it's not our money.
There's not a lot of guys in Major League Baseball. Obviously, your Trouts, your Shoheis, you just rattle off 2 guys from the same team that suck. But yeah, it's crazy. There's a few guys I'd take, but Trey Turner's in that top 10 players that I would take to build a team around. And if you can get your hands on him, you fucking do it.
Yeah, that'd be a really fun acquisition there for the Cubs. But before we move on, we have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Connect Roasters Coffee. Quick little callback to our guy Ian Happ. You know he loves good coffee. He would not drink, that low quality stuff. So you know that Connect Roasters has the best around. Make sure that you guys check them out. ConnectRoasters.com. Find them on Twitter at Connect Roasters. We've talked about the weather before, early in the show. It's getting colder. You're always going to want that little warm drink in the morning. What better place to get it from than Connect Roasters? I'm telling you, I am not the biggest coffee guy around, but do they make good coffee? Like I said, connectroasters.com, Connect Roasters on Twitter. Make sure that you go check out their delicious products.
I saw Ian Happ was at Connect Roasters HQ.
The one we were at?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, lovely little setup there.
Doing a taste testing or something like that.
Great choice. Like I said, the guy. And if a guy wins a Gold Glove and the guy drinks, and is, branded with this company that makes delicious coffee, if you want to be successful, drink Connect Roasters coffee just like Ian Happ does. Maybe you'll win a Gold Glove someday. All right, guys, we're going to jump into an interview we have with our guy, Bobby Wilson from the TNT College Football Podcast. We do a nice little kind of midway, a little over midway, I guess, season recap so far, what we're looking forward to, a little check-in with our guy Bobby. So let's go ahead and throw it to our interview.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is back. We have a returning guest to the podcast for a mid-season-ish check-in on the college football season. He's one of the newest members of the College Football Writers Association of America and is the host of the TNT College Football Podcast. I got my shirt on here. You can find him on Twitter. Yes, let's go. He's on Twitter at TNT College Foot 1. Ladies and gentlemen, he's our own football guy, Bobby Wilson. Bobby, how are we doing, my man?
Great, guys. Glad to be back on. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. It's been a fun ride so far in the season, and I'm looking forward to see how it ends.
Yeah. Oh, it's been chaos so far.
Yes.
That's been the nice thing about the college football season.
Last week helped that.
It's got to easily be the craziest season so far, but for one of the main reasons why. For the first time in a long time, it seems like Alabama will have no shot of playing the national championship game. What happened?
Well, I will say I think they have a sliver of hope just because if they win the SEC, but LSU has to lose twice. So it's odds are not going to happen, but we'll see. I mean, crazier things have happened. But I think it's good for college football to have some different teams in there. I mean, yeah, we got Georgia, Ohio State again, like usual, but we'll see how it pans out. I mean, I'm pulling for TCU to get it done, just so somebody else can get in there. They got screwed over before, and I believe it was like 07 or 09, whatever, whichever year it was. But I'm happy for them, and I hope they can get it done. I'm glad Clemson lost. They're just not that good. I mean, it would have been they would lose to Georgia or Ohio State or Michigan by
get pummeled
3 touchdowns at least. So it's good that happened.
All right, so you see these teams a lot more than most people. Is it Alabama? There's 2 scenarios in my head, and I want your opinion. Is it Alabama is down compared to what they've been, or is the rest of the SEC and the rest of the nation just catching up to them? Or is it a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think Alabama has the best quarterback and the best player in Will Anderson on defense. So, I mean, they have 2 guys who are elite studs. They have a running back in Jahmyr Gibbs who is unbelievable. But there's pieces around that I mean, it's inevitable with how many guys they have go to the NFL every year that they're going to eventually take a step back. And I think that's what's happened a little bit here. And I think it just boils down to as well that like Georgia is really, really good. and they're getting some of those guys that Alabama would get. LSU played the game of their life Saturday night. So, I mean, they deserve all the credit. I don't like giving Brian Kelly credit, but that call he made to go for 2 is probably one of the gutsiest calls I've ever seen in my life. So I have to give him credit there. But like you kind of said, I think that everybody else is kind of catching up. And when I say everybody else, I mean the elite teams are catching up.
Right. And you see the teams like Tennessee have the resurgency. I mean, Tennessee's been kind of a doormat for a while. And obviously we've talked about Georgia, a ton over the last couple of years. But even looking at, other teams in that conference, I mean, Mississippi's having a really good year. And like you said, LSU, just because they're, at the early stages of quote unquote a rebuild with a new coach, like they're still LSU, right? They're still, an SEC program. It's even the bad.
They're playing Arkansas this weekend at Arkansas. I understand it's at Arkansas. It's only a 3-point spread. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
They're inevitably going to have a bit of a letdown. I mean, they're coming off the highest of highs. I mean,
very true, but you
Arkansas lost to Liberty last week too.
Yeah. But
who UConn plays this week?
We'll get to UConn. I know you're chomping at the bit here in a minute, but so we're a little over like a month away from the end of the season, finding out who the Final Four is. So as we sit here, we are recording this on election night. We're not going to talk about those polls. The only ones we're talking about are the Final Four polls. So who do you have right now in your Final Four as it sits on November 8th?
I have my Final Four the exact same as the College Football Playoff Committee came out with today, or just a couple hours ago, actually. I have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan are going to play. That's going to play out. I think if the game is a great game, which it could be, if it comes down to like a 3-point game or something like that, I think both teams could have a shot to still get in. It'd be really interesting to see how that turns out. But I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see what they do with Tennessee and Oregon, because those are the teams I have next in line as well. And obviously Tennessee's not going to be able to play in the SEC championship game because of Georgia. And Oregon has played out of their minds since the first week of the season. But can you look past a 40-plus point beatdown that they received by Georgia? I think the Pac-12 has a legitimate shot this year, actually, though, with Oregon, USC, and UCLA all only having one loss, and they're all good, actually. People probably besides the psychos like me who stay up and watch every game probably haven't seen those teams. They're all very good. Like I know a lot of the average fans probably only saw Oregon against Georgia, but this is a completely different Oregon team. They've
and a first-year head coach too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're learning on the fly. And I shouldn't say on the fly, but like, at the end of the day, it actually is, but it is. It's a completely different team. And before we get to the next question, they have talked about expanding the playoffs. Where do you sit on that with the recent talk of expansion on that?
I'm all for it. I think it's a needed thing. They're going to go to 12 teams, so it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. But I think there has to be representation from the G5 programs. Yeah. If that doesn't happen, I am completely against it, because the likes of Tulane this year, UCF, Coastal Carolina, Liberty's not eligible because they're independent, but they only have one. I mean, there's some really, really good group of 5 teams this year that are deserving for an opportunity in a 12-team playoff. And Cincinnati, I mean, we saw Cincinnati last year. They gave I know Alabama won decidingly, but they gave them a battle. I mean, it wasn't a cakewalk for Alabama in that game.
Is there a chance that they don't let them play or let them in?
I mean, they say they're saying that they're going to give one spot to that, but I think we see every week with these college football playoff rankings that they do everything they can to keep those teams out.
Yeah, they want, asses in the seats. It's as simple as that,
Yeah.
You've named some great Tulane having an insane year, after the struggles they've been through the last few years. And, even, a program like UCF who's sitting at 7-2. I mean, there's got to be some sort, of way or metric to figure out who your best G5 school is. That you got to include those, because if not, then what are you playing for?
Right. We don't need to see an
Outback Bowl. Yeah. It's frustrating, that's for sure.
Other than the teams in the top 10, do you see any other teams getting into the Final Four?
Well, UCLA, I think, was at 12 tonight, which really surprises me. They only have one loss. And I mean, it was at Oregon. So, I mean, it's shaping up for them. If they win out, they would have to beat USC, which would obviously be a great win for them. And it sets up for them to have a rematch against Oregon, and they could be a one-loss team who wins the Pac-12. So I think there's an opportunity for them potentially. I think it would then some chaos might have to ensue for all that to happen. I mean, the committee's already they already put Clemson and Alabama still in the top 10, even though they're not deserving of it. But at the same time, I would think if you're the team that wins the Pac-12, you would leapfrog over those teams. But you never know with the committee.
Yeah, it's always hard to predict. We were talking off air before you came on here, Bobby, about you were down at the Illinois game this past weekend, and Illinois lost to Michigan State. First of all, is there any possibility that Illinois is going to get to the Big Ten championship game, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, it's all in they control their destiny. I mean, they beat Purdue this weekend. They're in. I mean, it's because they have the tiebreaker over everybody else in the West, besides Northwestern, but that game's not going to matter. And they shouldn't lose that game anyways. But still, they're in complete control. They win this game this week, they're in good shape. Wild
mind here. I know we have we're going to have at least 2, possibly 3 undefeateds. Is there any sliver of hope for Illinois fans that Illinois runs the schedule the rest of the year, finishes the season with 2 losses, wins the conference championship game? Any chance Illinois gets to the Final Four?
Probably not in that scenario. I think the 2 losses that they have coming against Indiana and Michigan State are really going to kind of hold them back when it comes to that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you'd still go to the Rose Bowl.
It's absurd that we're sitting here even having this conversation, because Illinois has been nothing but a doormat for the last decade. And now you're talking about a team that and both of their losses, I mean, they were very winnable games.
Yes.
And they're there. And you feel like
game, they did win, but the refs wouldn't let them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. I mean, what Brett Bielema's done down there in just, 2 quick seasons is insanely impressive. Even talking about Illinois being ranked in the top 25, I used to always joke, being an NIU guy, that, hard being the flagship university of the state, and you're the second and sometimes third best football team. And now they've completely flipped that. And it is just really, really impressive right now.
I'm voting Chase Brown as an All-American. I mean, he has been absolutely amazing this year. Unfortunately for him, he had those 2 fumbles this weekend against Michigan State, so it's probably going to knock him out completely in any Heisman talk, which he was on the outside looking in at that anyways. But still, I mean, for a running back from the University of Illinois to have that opportunity is probably something that nobody thought would happen.
I mean, shoot, there probably hasn't even been an Illinois player in the conversation for a Heisman since Juice Williams back in 06, 07 or whatever. So the fact that this conversation is even happening is just leaps and bounds. What was the game day experience like down at U of I?
It was really cool because I went to the Wyoming game, the first game of the year. So, I mean, that week 0, the stadium wasn't full because it was going into the season. People were like, I thought Illinois would make a bowl. I thought they'd win 6 games, make a bowl. Obviously, they've proven to be much better than that, and the defense is elite. So it was sold out. I mean, it was a packed house, and I think for people who are fans of Illinois and Illinois football, that has to be something that they didn't think could happen, especially
100%.
or not for a while at least. So props to them for having a sellout, and they need to do it again this week for Purdue because this is they win this game, they're going to the Big Ten title game.
That's crazy.
It is. It's crazy.
Who would have thought just even a year or so ago that they would even be able to be over 500 in a season?
And sell out a Michigan State game.
Right, sell out a game. Yeah, I mean,
It's
amazing. It just speaks to how great of a job Brett Bielema has done. I mean, just a fantastic job.
And looking back at the 2 losses, they really could have won both those games.
Yep.
should have.
Yep, they should have.
Especially the Indiana game. That was tough.
They should be undefeated.
That would be
Yes, they should.
that would be something crazy. But how is Coastal Carolina looking this season?
Oh man, besides the one loss that they have where the defense just couldn't stop the run. I mean, this is a team that should be undefeated as well. I mean, they've played tremendous. Their quarterback, Grayson McCall, is one of the best players in college football, and most people don't even know it. I mean, his completion percentage and QBR ratings are off the charts. I mean, last season he had the highest QBR rating in the history of college football, and this year he's going to be right there again. I mean, I think he's thrown 1 interception this year. I mean, he's incredible, and whichever NFL team gets to take him I think he's going to be a star just because of his accuracy and
It goes a long way in the NFL.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we see guys every Sunday who aren't accurate. I mean, my team, the Detroit Lions, has a guy who can't hit a barn some days. So it's just like, I would love to have him on the Detroit Lions. I mean, it's
high praises.
I mean, that kid is fantastic, and he's an even better human being.
And we talked about, like, obviously where Illinois has come, but, like, look at what Coastal's done. Everybody's like, oh, that one year, was it 2 seasons ago, maybe 3 now? Where they're So everybody's saying how, those G5 programs have, the one you think about NIU going to the Orange Bowl, UCF going undefeated. Everybody can look at those and say, well, UCF has had sustained success, but, like, Coastal Carolina's right up there with those kinds of programs. And that's, saying something about, a school that's one of the more recent Division I moves in the last, decade plus. And look what they've got built out there in Carolina. It's fun to watch.
Less than 10 years at the FBS level.
Yeah.
And since 2020, the only teams that have won more games than them since 2020 are, I believe, Georgia and Alabama.
That's nuts. That is a crazy stat.
I believe that's what it is. I know it's Alabama, and I want to say it's Georgia. I think Coastal's won. They won 11 games last year, and they won 10 the year before, and they're sitting at 8-1 right now, with a great opportunity to win out the rest of the year.
Insane. Let's get to the other team that you love, the team you probably love the most, and that's UConn. You're the biggest UConn person I've ever met. So how would you describe the season? They're sitting at 5-5, 1 game away from bowl eligibility. They win the Cum Bowl this weekend, the Connecticut UMass Bowl out on the East Coast. How are the Huskies looking?
Gosh, man, You guys know I've built a relationship with that coaching staff and those players, and I just couldn't be happier for these guys because they've worked their tails off to get to this point, and everyone on the planet has told them how much they suck. I mean, I was
guilty.
At the beginning of the year, I said they were going to win 6 games and go to a bowl game, and I probably took the most crap.
Yeah, when you said that, I thought you were crazy.
And I probably am, but just ask my wife. But I mean, what they've done this year is nothing short of amazing. I mean, they lost their starting quarterback 5 minutes into the season. They're starting a true freshman quarterback who played at St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, won multiple state championships in the state of Florida in high school, but still, you're playing FBS college football. It's still a jump. Then they lost the top 2 starting running backs, the top 4 wide receivers. So on offense, this is a completely different team. There's guys playing right now that nobody thought were going to see the field. Freshmen out there that everybody thought was going to get redshirted. Now these guys look like future stars. So it's in the defense didn't allow a passing touchdown for the month of October, which a lot of people didn't know that. But it's one of those things where you look at this defense and it's what they've turned into. When they played Syracuse, Michigan, and NC State 3 weeks in a row, it was very rough.
Yeah, it's a hell of a schedule right there.
Yeah. But these guys made it through it, and they're better for it. I mean, they've won 3 straight home games. They beat Fresno State. They beat Boston College for the first time in the history of the football program. And then, like you said, they just beat UMass handily.
Yeah.
Which they haven't won. Granted, UMass and Florida International are not great teams, but they won both of those games by over 20 points. And that's not something UConn football has done since probably 2015. I mean, this is what they're doing right now. What Jim Mora and that staff have done with this team is nothing short of remarkable. Like I said, with the relationships I've built with them, I'm not surprised because, like Chance Boomy, as a former coach, you can't fake a brotherhood. You can't fake the energy that they have, and what they've built there is special. So it's like I could see it from the beginning, and that's why I said that they were going to win 6 games, because I saw that. I was a part of it.
Yeah, which is crazy, because if you look at the way things ended for Jim Mora, and granted that was 5 years ago now at UCLA, like they were never, there was always something going on around there, and to see it's funny how sometimes it just takes the right school, the right group of guys, and they're 5-5. We're talking about them like they're 10-0 right now, but you have to look at, like you said earlier, where this program has come from. And where their schedule. I mean, look what they've done Jim Mora has been the head coach there for less than a year now, and the fact that they're building that is impressive.
In the past 4 years, now granted they didn't play in 2020, but they were 4-30.
Jeez,
they are 5-5 right now. So that's why
4-30.
I know it's crazy. But Jim Mora needs to be considered for Coach of the Year, for National Coach of the Year, for what he's done there.
Just for turning that around.
For turning it around. Because nobody, besides maybe me and a couple crazy UConn people, thought this was possible.
Yeah. It's insanely impressive to put the definition of a basketball school that has, never really had the success at the football level to now see where they're sitting. It's very impressive. And I think that not a lot of people are talking about what Jim Mora's done. Is he's kind of unfortunately been an afterthought, the last 5 years, and then to turn it around and do what he's doing now is a hell of an accomplishment.
And he's even come out like in the past couple of days, kind of challenging the university to put the money where their mouth is and put more money towards football, which UConn is actually at a slight disadvantage. A lot of people don't realize this, but they are only allowed to have, and I know this is going to kind of sound crazy, but they're only allowed to have 105 players on the football team, where everybody else is allowed to have 110. And I understand what people are going to say. Well, players from 105 to 110 aren't going to like change your program, but it kind of does.
Yeah,
because you're able to add 5 more pieces, and it can alter things. And so the state of Connecticut has said that they're going to put money up to renovate Rensselaer Field, which is where the Huskies play. It's owned by the state of Connecticut. That UConn plays I believe it's 35 minutes away from their campus. So
my God.
they have to take a bus to their games. I don't know if they'll ever build an on-campus football stadium, but they have their football facility that's right across the street from Gamble Pavilion where the basketball teams play. So, I mean, they see that greatness every day from the basketball point of view. So now that you have a guy like Jim Mora come in who has been to the top of football, we can say, I mean, from the NFL perspective, I think being around that greatness only help these players grow and gel into what they've turned into.
Yeah, it's funny you say about the money aspect. They should just go ask, what's Buddy's name that used to be the UConn men's coach?
Calhoun.
Yeah, just go ask Calhoun for some of that money back. He was famous for that clip about not giving a dime back. Not a dime.
And then Kevin Ollie, too. I mean, they had to pay him a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, seriously.
But one thing people don't realize about Connecticut is they have a linebacker named Jackson Mitchell, who is second in the nation in tackles, and he leads the nation in fumble recoveries. So this is a guy who is playing at an All-American level, and a lot of people probably don't even know who his name is. But I mean, this guy is a legitimate NFL linebacker, and he's from the state of Connecticut, so it's a big deal to people out there that this is a homegrown kid who's turned into just a special player. And I'm going to put him on my All-American ballot. I mean, you have I think he has 110 or 112 tackles.
108. I just pulled it up here.
Okay. So he's got 108 tackles through 10 games and leads the nation in fumble recoveries. So, I mean, to me, that's an All-American.
That's very impressive. He's only being beaten by some kid from Old Dominion that has a freakish number and 141 tackles.
Yeah, that kid is a freak too, by the way.
He's beating second place by almost 40 tackles.
Yeah, that kid's special.
Yeah, Jesus.
Is there any other big name coaches that you can see getting fired by the end of the season?
Man, I was saying for a while that South Florida was going to fire their coach, and then they did it on Sunday. So I mean, I think that was the last one for now. I think something pretty drastic would have to happen in the last couple of weeks to get let go at this point. I think Brian Harrison should have been let go at Auburn. First off, he should have never been hired. He didn't fit Auburn at all.
Yeah.
But I think we've all seen that now. But he should have been fired weeks ago, months ago even. I mean, it just didn't fit. It didn't work. And they've kind of turned into a dumpster fire.
I was trying to bait you into one here. Is Jimbo Fisher getting fired?
He should, but he's going to be worth $100 million. So.
I'm telling you, and it's always the running joke. The best job in the world is to be a fired SEC football coach.
100%. Here's a random one I'll throw at you that I'm sure nobody's talking about. And this is another huge buyout, so it's not going to happen. But Mel Tucker at Michigan State.
Yeah.
I'm a Michigan guy at heart, but I try to put my bias aside with that. But this is a guy who's created a culture there that it's terrible. I would not want my son to play for him at all.
What the hell was that going? I mean, that fight after the Michigan game, that was insane.
Yeah, there's no place for that. But I don't care how big he is and how many cigars he smokes and how cool it looks. Why would you want your son to play for somebody like that? To me, again, he has a huge contract, $100 million, so he's not going to get fired. But he'd have to do something crazy. But, I mean, something crazy did happen, obviously.
Yeah.
And I would argue watching the Illinois game, I mean, I'll give Michigan State credit for winning the game, obviously. But he made some pretty bonehead coaching decisions in that game. That last drive, I mean, on second down, They take a delay of game, and then he calls a timeout directly after the delay of game penalty. Then they come out and run the ball. Clock's running. All they have to do is literally just run the ball, and the clock's going to run out. And on third down, they pass the ball, and they miss it. And then they miss the field goal. And now Illinois has a chance to come and tie it. Now, granted, they didn't do it, but it's like
you left that
all you had to do is run the ball, and the game's over.
Yeah, and this is a team going into the year that people are talking about winning the Big Ten, and now they're sitting at 4-5, and it's how the mighty have fallen awfully quick.
Yes.
Speaking of how the mighty have fallen, what the hell has happened to my Huskies? My God.
It's injuries, man.
It's so bad.
I feel bad for you guys because
I don't need your sympathy, Bobby. All right, we stink right now. All right, there's no being nice about it. We stink.
I picked you guys to win the MAC this year, so I'm obviously very wrong there. But you guys have had so many injuries, though. I mean, it's just how many quarterbacks have you played this year? I mean, it's been
3, 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough, obviously.
And here's my issue is that there's been so many you lose to a Tulsa super early in the year, should have won that game. Vanderbilt, you had your chances to beat an SEC school, didn't finish there. Kentucky, you only lose by 8 to a Kentucky team that's ranked that was ranked 8th in the country at the time. Ball State, you lose by 6. Toledo blows your doors off, then you lose by a touchdown at Ohio. It's like you're in all these games and it's so close, and then you look at, you can talk about being as close as you want, and you're sitting here at 2-7. You're like, wait, what just happened?
Well, you can also look at last year. I mean, their wins last year were all close games, so it's just kind of turned around this year. I think if Rocky Lombardi doesn't get hurt in the Vanderbilt game, you guys win that game kind of going away. I mean, he was playing tremendous in that game, and then he got hurt, and he hasn't played since, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you got to feel like those games are going to say 6 points, 8 points, 7. Even, you lose that, or Central Michigan, those games are much different games when you have a transfer Big Ten quarterback. It's frustrating after kind of coming out of nowhere. And I think we're in year 3 of Hammock. So, of course, my group chats with my dad and my brother, every time they lose, I'm like, fire this guy. But obviously, I think he's the right guy for the job. We may have to fire the training staff or something. I don't know. Get these guys healthier or something. Figure something out.
Hey, a lot of people have said that at UConn, to fire the trainer because of all the ACL injuries they've had.
Yeah, that and the White Sox trainers, those guys, they all stink. They can't keep guys healthy to save their lives. So before we let you go, right now, who are your top 3 for Heisman?
Man, that is difficult right now. It really is, because it was Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. He was kind of, I don't want to say he was running away with it, but he was definitely the clear-cut number 1 guy. And then they turn around and play poorly against Georgia. I mean, I'm still going to put him up there because of the body of work he's had for the whole season. I mean, you got to put C.J. Stroud from Ohio State there. Blake Corum at Michigan has had a heck of a year at running back. A dark horse guy is Bo Nix at Oregon. He is, since that Georgia game, has played out of his mind, and he's probably been the best player in the country if you don't look at that game.
A sentence we never ever thought we would hear.
No,
Bo
ever.
It should be in the running for that.
Grayson McCall at Coastal Carolina should be considered. Obviously, he won't be because he plays at a Group of 5 school, but unfortunately.
Anything to be said about Stetson Bennett at UGA?
I think there's definitely an argument to be had there. I mean, whenever you're the quarterback of the best team in the country, you should definitely be considered. And he has raised his level of play this year to something that I didn't think he could do. I mean, he actually looks like an NFL quarterback right now, which I never thought I would say that.
I mean, I'm looking at the top quarterbacks passing wise. I mean, you were also, they haven't even brought up, some different names that Caleb Williams. I love Caleb Williams. I love USC. He's ranked 11th in passing yards. Stetson Bennett is actually 14th in passing yards. He's ahead of Hendon Hooker and CJ Stroud right now in just yards. But obviously you have to look at the full, picture of everything. But I mean, I feel like this is the deepest in the season where I personally could not tell you who the top 3 I would give for Heisman right now.
I agree with you. That's why I'm actually kind of glad I don't have a vote in the Heisman this year, because it's just like
we'll cut that out. We're not going to let the AP hear that. Get our guy Bobby a vote for Heisman. It's ridiculous. All right, guy watches more football than anybody.
Voting power for everything but the Heisman. That's just not fair.
Yeah,
I do have that. It's been pretty crazy. I've already put in I had to submit my semifinalists voting for all the positional awards already. So that's been fun, because you're watching different parts of the game that you don't usually watch. I'm sitting here watching, okay, who's the best offensive lineman? Who's the best center? Normally, obviously the average person isn't sitting here watching, okay, who's the best center in college football?
Yeah.
But
couldn't name one if you put a gun to my head.
It's an interesting thing to look at for sure.
All right, well, give us a peek behind the curtain. Who's the best center in college football, in your opinion?
I'm going to butcher his last name, but it's Olu Olumatumi from Michigan.
I think you made that up. There's no way that's a real person.
No, he transferred from Virginia this year. He's a heck of a football player.
Shout out Ulu. Ulu, you said?
Yeah, OLU is his first name.
Shout out Ulu. That's amazing.
He's a heck of a football player.
I will take your word, because like I said, you'd watch more college football than any person I think we've ever met, and for sure that's ever been on this podcast. So as always, Bobby, we thank you for hopping on with us tonight. It's always great checking in with you. If you want to check out any Bobby, you need to go check out Bobby's stuff. The TNT College Football Podcast on Twitter at TNT College Foot 1. Like I said, more information, and make sure you follow him, because in the summer it's my favorite thing in the world. He breaks down every program in the country. So it's just it's quality stuff. The podcast is great. He's got insights that you don't even know about. Make sure you check him out. Go make sure if Bobby, the shirt's still available.
They are.
Get yourself a shirt.
I'm actually going through the process of adding some new things, because I've had somebody create a new logo for me too. So it'll be fun.
Great. That's what my wife needs, is for me to buy another T-shirt. So I appreciate it. Like we said, as always, thank you for hopping on. We will absolutely have to have Bobby back on here near the end of the season, once all of the Final Four gets set and the Heisman Trophy and all that good stuff. So Bobby, as always, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you joining us here on the podcast.
Thanks, guys. As always, I really appreciate it. Love talking with you guys.
Thanks again to our guy, Bobby Wilson, for jumping on and catching up on the college football season. Make sure you check out Bobby on Twitter at TNT College Foot 1. Let's go ahead and jump into it, boys. We got the NFL Week 10 pick show this week. Last week, somebody forgot to put their picks in, went 0-6. He's also in the top left of your screen.
At this point.
Yeah, you're pretty much as out of it as can be. Then we had I went 3-3. Pigoy 3-1-2, and then Maddie reasserting his dominance at 4-0-2. So the season standings are as follows. That is Maddie at 31-21-2, followed by Pigoy at 28-24-2. I am at 26-28, and Zach in last at 20-33-1. So, boys, let's go ahead and get right into it. We got the noon games. Does anybody want to start?
I'll go first. Bears -3 at home against the Lions. I love that game.
I'm going to give you 2.5, Zach. I just got 2.5 earlier tonight. You get 2.5.
Thank you. And then Dolphins -3.5 at home against the Browns. That's a crazy line. The Browns.
Yeah, that line stinks too. I don't know what's going on there. Maddie, do you want to go or do you want me to?
I'll go. I agree with Zach on the Bears. I got the Bears minus 2.5. It was the first bet I made all week in the NFL. As soon as I saw that dip under the 3 marker, I was all I loved it. Loved it. Home against the Lions. I like that one a lot. And then, man, I'm gonna go with Minnesota on the road +3. I'm gonna bank on Josh Allen not playing. Looks like that line. Was he ruled out officially?
I'm pretty sure.
It would make sense because that line really has tumbled all week. It started out at I think 6.5, 7 points. It's down to 3 now. I don't care either way. I would take Minnesota money line right now. Buffalo's a good team. Buffalo's a great team. Buffalo's one of those teams that takes weeks off, it feels like at times. And I think this is a spot where Minnesota's going to come in hot to trot. They're going to try to prove something. It's noontime Kirk, and so give me the Vikings.
All righty. I've got the Tennessee Titans minus 2.5. They are at home versus the Broncos. I think the Titans are better than people are giving them credit for. They're obviously struggling without Tannehill, but Derrick Henry, I mean, just an absolute, just horse right now. And I think the Broncos stink. Thank you, Maddie. And then I'm also going to take the Giants minus 4.5 at home against the Texans. I still firmly believe the Texans are one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NFL. And I think they're going to be able to handle the Giants will be able to handle whatever the Texans have to throw at them. Move to the afternoon game. Sorry, Maddie, before I go on, what did you have the Vikings line at?
Right now, I've got them at +3. Let me see.
Okay.
I think 3.5 is the best you're going to do. Yeah, everything is 3 now. So, yeah, give them to me 3.
All righty.
I would take a money line, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Zach, what do you got for the afternoon games?
I'm going to take Rams minus 3 at home against the Cardinals. The Cardinals are bad. They're bad.
Can I just second that? Because that's going to be one of my picks, and for the exact same reason. Literally, I was going to use the same sentence. Just the Cardinals fucking suck.
They're so bad.
They're terrible. I agree, Zach. I couldn't agree more. Give me the.
I think Kyler Murray is stealing money from them at this point.
Yeah.
If it's not him, it's fucking what's his fucking coach? Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah. Hey, and I hate to pile on.
I don't think he'll be the coach next year.
I think you're right.
He'll be the coach next week.
Yeah. I don't mean to pile onto the Cardinals, but I also had Rams minus 3 written down.
There we go. Love that.
Yeah.
There you go. Show pot. Pigo, get the show pot going.
Raiders minus 4.5 at home against the Colts.
Raiders minus 4.
They got to do something this year, big.
I thought about taking that one, but the new Jeff Saturday thing scared me. I don't obviously. Your logical brain tells you this guy's never coached. They have no one on staff that's called plays before. They're going to lose this game. But then the dumb gambler, superstitious idiot in my brain was like, maybe they'll figure something out. I don't know. But so I stayed away from that. Maddie?
My second one for the 3 o'clock set, because like I said, I'm going to take the Rams with you guys. I also am going to take the home dog Green Bay Packers +4. I think it's one of those kind of, remember the Alamo type efforts in Lambeau this weekend. And if they don't win, the season could spiral out of control. So either way, I win. So
yeah, I've got the Packers as well, because this is your last stand. If you win, you can find a logical plan to sneak yourself into a wild card. You lose, this thing's done. I mean, it's
as a history aficionado. Is Aaron Rodgers General Custer this weekend?
Yeah, well, we'll find out by Monday. We'll be able to write that piece of historical fiction. But yeah, it definitely has the makings of that. It's like he's like General Custer before he marches into South Dakota and gets slaughtered. But it could have a different ending
right now. He's approaching.
He's roaming around some other territory right now. But for my hope, hopefully it's a different outcome than good old General Custer. Let's move into the Sunday night game. We got the 49ers and the Chargers. I will just go ahead and I'll take the 49ers. I think the Chargers are overrated. I think they stink. Everybody claimed, Justin Herbert is just the next thing. And I don't know. I still have yet to see it.
I'm going to go Chargers. Plus, what'd you get them at?
7.
Yeah, I'll take +7.
That is a big number. That does have me a little worried.
We'll see. Maddie?
I agree with Zach. It's one of those. I do think the 49ers are a very, very good team. I think Super Bowl caliber, but it's one of those things where I think Justin Herbert is still decent enough to keep a team close. And I don't know. The 49ers are banged up, and yeah, it's a lot of points.
Yeah, that's fair. I need to see something more out of Justin Herbert. And
I don't feel great about that game if you can't tell in my voice either.
Well, not even that. Like you say, the 49ers are banged up. The Chargers might be the most injured team in the NFL.
That's true. They always
are.
You just build that in.
I think them and the White Sox share our training staff at this point. Let's move to Monday night. We got the Eagles and the Washington Commanders. The spread right now, Eagles -11.
I will take Eagles -11. I think they're going to win by 3 touchdowns.
Maddie?
Yeah, probably the Eagles. It's another one I don't feel great about yet, but they're so fucking good. And Jalen Hurts is like, I'll just say I was wrong. I will admit I'm a better man than most, and will admit when I'm wrong. So I was wrong about Jalen Hurts. So hand up.
Yeah, I'm on the Eagles as well. I don't know if you guys saw the additional Dan Snyder stuff and all the nonsense going on.
He deserves to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more placing this bet on the fact that I hope they get pummeled, just because I hope all the bad things in the world happen, to the Commanders, front office staff. So,
if you're one of those guys or part of that group that's about trying to buy the team with Bezos and Jay-Z or whoever, if you're doing that, you've got to completely strip that team from the Commanders' name and everything, don't you? Don't you just go back to Washington football team and just change the color scheme? Or do that dark, the black helmet like they did this week with the burgundy, as opposed to something totally different than what they've ever been. I don't know.
100%. Couldn't agree with you any more than that there. Guys, let's go ahead and move on and wrap things up. As always, we have the TCF top 3. And this week we are doing Little Debbie's Snacks. This is one I've been waiting for a while here. Would anyone like to go first?
I'll go first. Cosmic brownies. I love cosmic brownies. And it's also one of those things with working outside, I'll have a packed lunch a lot and a little cosmic brownie to end the lunch. Just perfect.
I get it. It's probably their most recognizable one. I understand your pick. I disagree, but I understand your pick.
It's a nice way of saying that.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice. I'm not the biggest cosmic brownie fan. I don't know. I feel like they changed the recipe since we were little, and they're just not as good. I don't know what it is.
What could be changed there?
I don't know. I don't know.
Pretty basic.
Yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you?
Maybe your taste buds have changed.
That's probably true too, but I don't know. They don't taste as good as I remember them. Maddie, do you want to go second, or do you want the wraparound? I will go first. Oh God, there's so many good choices. I'm going to go with my all-time favorite, and that is the strawberry. Is it strawberry shortcake? Is that what it is? Yeah. The strawberry shortcake roll. I could eat a whole package of those.
I did not. That's why I took the wrap. I didn't think there was any fucking way you were going there. God damn it. That was a bad by me.
Yeah, that was
the draft's over.
He's reeling.
That's not
all right.
Anywhere on my list, so I'm good.
All right, I want to circle back to Zach's pick, the cosmic brownie. I disagree with Boomy because Boomy almost started going down slander street about the fucking cosmic brownie. The cosmic brownie is very good. I don't think it's 1-1 for in my opinion. I'm not going to fault somebody though because I could definitely see myself or someone else sniping that in the second round. So if you're a Cosmic Brownie stan, I have no problem taking them 1-1 like Zach did. So Boomy kind of jumped the gun there, I think, a little bit on that.
Always.
I just want to throw that out there.
It wouldn't be me if I did it. All right.
My first rounder, then I'm gonna go with the basic, probably the lace double to left center field, bounces off the wall, one hopper. It's the Nutty Bar. It's got peanut butter.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
Wafer. It's got everything you need. It's a bigger of the it's just like more filling in terms of what you get out of it. It's like a bigger treat kind of thing, physically speaking, I guess. So I'm gonna go with the Nutty Bar. And I'm really upset you took the strawberry shortcake. That threw me off my game big time. So I'm just gonna have to go with the Swiss cake roll. It's the Little Debbie version. Little Debbie, it's payback then, dude. It's the Little Debbie's version of the ho ho, which I think is far superior to the ho ho. I think the Little Debbie version absolutely dog walks the Hostess version, in my opinion. Ho hos are trash compared to the Swiss cake rolls, so I'm gonna go with that as my second round.
I am 100% on your side there. If I'm going with that type of dessert, it's Swiss roll or nothing. Ho hos, I forgot they even existed. So I'm with you on that end, Maddie. This gets a little tough. There's a lot of these snacks that I really, really enjoy. I'll be fine. I'll go with the one I probably eat the most at this stage of my life, oatmeal cream pie. And grow up, buddy. All right. No, if you go to any gas station, they have.
Ever hear the word cream pie and not laugh?
Well,
I guess that'd be words.
Yeah, that's fair. But if you ever get a chance, make sure you grab, next time you go to a gas station, grab the double-decker oatmeal cream pie, because that'll change your life.
Yeah, you know me. Yeah, you know me.
Yes, OCPs, the double-decker ones had changed my life. I'd probably be sub 200 pounds right now if it wasn't for those.
I'll go with
good for breakfast.
The honey bun.
Yeah.
Honey bun, solid. It's just another big, this is another double to left.
That's
center.
A meal. Yep.
This is another. I'm still gonna go with. It's coming up here soon. That time of year.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna do this.
Cakes. Christmas tree cakes. They're delicious.
Zach, a very important question here. Have you tried the chocolate Christmas tree cake?
I will this very soon.
I have them at my house. I will try to remember to bring you one tomorrow because I like the vanilla ones.
Hey, drunk at a wedding would be the perfect time to try one.
Dude, I'm telling you, the chocolate, I mean, I'm not disrespecting the original vanilla, but the chocolate is a game changer. It elevates.
Just tell Jesse, be like, hey, can you put this in your purse, please?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll have to pack a couple. We can live there. That's all right. Let's see. My third round pick. Oh, boy. I feel like I'm going to leave somebody out and feel really bad about it. I'll go in the. Yeah, well, you don't eat Little Debbie's from gas stations as much as I do, apparently. I'll go fudge rounds. They're delicious. They're kind of in the same family as the oatmeal cream pie. Give me the fudge rounds.
Whoa! Did not see that go. I have my pick. I have my
double-decker fudge round.
I have my pick of two that I would say are borderline first rounders in my opinion, and I don't know what to do now because I figured you would take one. And I have two slam dunk Hall of Fame Little Debbie's.
Zebra Cakes is probably going to be one of them.
Zebra Cakes is one of them, and Star Crunch is the other. And I don't know which one to go with, so I'm going to just go with Zebra Cakes.
Yeah, and I thought about Zebra Cakes.
Zebra Cakes are outstanding. They're
I agree.
Outstanding.
I was going to go with Zebra Cakes, but I think they're a little too much like the Christmas trees. I couldn't pick one.
Yeah.
For your
yeah.
Your slate, yes, I agree with you. I don't have anything like that. So
Zebra Cakes, delicious.
And see, I have two that are very similar. And if I wanted to go for the popular pick, I agree. I should have went zebra cakes. However, I consume fudge rounds more than I consume zebra cakes. So
I'm just gonna throw out
I went from
Star
the heart,
Crunch
Maddie.
did not go in the top 10 in our draft, and that's wild. Star Crunch are outstanding.
I think that's pretty accurate, though. Like Star Crunch are good, but like borderline top 10 in my opinion.
No,
Yeah,
Star Crunch are outstanding.
they're like a 10-11 material in
If
my
you
book.
can get Star Crunch to round out your fucking starting five, get out of here. That's an elite lineup. That's all I'm gonna say. Because if we went 4 rounds and I got Star Crunch in the 4th round, that's an absolute steal, and you know that when you spell it that way.
Yeah, you make a very good point, Matt. I can't really argue with you. I went from the heart. Anything that we forgot here? Has anybody got any of those weird? I'll give you guys one that I enjoy that I've never even
like
seen
banana
before.
rolls, don't you?
Dude, you read my mind, Maddie. They're not banana rolls. They're called banana twins, and they're amazing.
Never
All right.
heard of that before in my life.
Okay, so when we moved to Mendota in 1999, there used to be where one of the grocery stores in town used to be, I believe it was like a Dolly Madison store, and they just sold like these like Little Debbie snacks, and like there was like almost like an outlet store for these like small package. And I remember getting one of these banana twins when I was little, and I like banana flavored stuff, obviously. These are ones I literally don't even see them anywhere. So I'm a big fan of those. Any other ones we forgot?
No, everything on my list has been taken.
I do like the Little Debbie fruit pies are always good too.
Yeah, and you miss the good old days because you could get those two for $1, man. Those were
for sure.
Those were
really
elite things. There was one other one, frosted fudge fingers, I think is what it's called. Those are really good too.
You got some wild name for these things.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. The Little Debbie frosted fudge cakes. Those are really solid.
The Nutter Butter is actually called Nutty Buddy.
Yeah, it's weird that we all kind of just assume that.
Cakes. The white fancy cakes. Those weren't
yeah.
bad either.
Yes. Yeah, you can't go wrong. Let us know what we missed.
Fun names.
Zebra cake rolls were a thing too.
Yeah, I can't believe those didn't.
They were like the Swiss cake roll or the strawberry shortcake, but the zebra cake coating on the outside.
I might have to get a strawberry shortcake roll tomorrow, man. Those things are so good.
You're getting a box tomorrow, no question.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to polish off those chocolate Christmas trees I got first. Oh, speaking of that, I didn't even bring this up when Zach brought it up. They have the Christmas tree one. They have it in an ice cream now. I actually just got it at Walmart the other day. Not really sure how to feel about it yet. I'm still kind of on the fence, but I think they should just stick to the regular cakes. But give it a try. Let us know what we missed. And thank you for joining us for episode 152 of Typical Chicago Fans. We are brought to you by our incredible sponsor, Connect Roasters Coffee. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find us there, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review. Leave rating, whatever you can. YouTube for all of our content in video form. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just type in Typical Chicago Fans, and of course on Twitter at typical_Chicago. You can follow me at BoomyTCF, Maddie at schools_01, and Zach at Lilia TCF. We thank you as always for joining us. This was episode 152 of Typical Chicago Fans. We love you all.
Peace.